The swap from bikes to buggies to trucks happened in a 15-year span. I might be on the younger side still, 27, but I feel like a veteran almost because I've been doing it as long as a lot of people. Knowing what a bike can do, you can't really break a bike unless you really crash it. You can break yourself. Then you move to a buggy, and I like to think of buggies as pretty fragile. I mean, you can break one of those CV joints anytime you want. And it all came down to they all broke. They all broke. I mean, that's why everybody moved to trucks, including us. They are stronger, and we found that out. When we made the swap to trucks, they are more reliable with the right package behind you, which we've seemed to have found that out. All right. The beginning started with my parents. They race motorcycles themselves and were very successful. You learn how to read the terrain because you have to, or you can hurt yourself. You have to respect a rock. You have to respect a tree. Well, I started navigating for my dad, and that went for probably 4 years. So probably from when I was like 9 to 13, I would say. And I learned a lot. Being a good navigator, I think, is very important for knowing how to drive too, and know what you want in a navigator. And then I started driving at the Parker 425 when I was 13, and no good results, but we finished, and that was the beginning of it. And then we just kind of raced as a family for fun. It was all a hobby. It wasn't no big names, no sponsors, just to be out there together. And then in the last 7 or 8 years, it got a little more serious from there. The increments up to the Mint 400 win, I think, were very important to make the Mint 400 win feel as good as it did, because it wasn't like, okay, we won the Mint overnight. We won Silver State, we won Vegas to Reno, and then we just kept racking up the wins, and it just kept like, okay, you know, we're on to something here, we're on to something. And Team Brenthel was, you know, they kept really pushing hard for more wins. And I think when we came into the Mint, you got the taste of the win, so you're like, we haven't had that one yet. Let's see if we can get that one. And that's against the best of the best. Rob Mack, Harley Lettner, all those guys were there. So it really built up and made a good feeling there to win the Mint, absolutely.
The best thing about Kyle is how honest he is with me about a race truck, right? A lot of guys get out of a race truck and they feel as a driver that they need to tell you something magical, and they're just talking. Oh man, it really needs a tighter sway bar. It needs a this in the rear. And it's hard to find a driver that actually knows what's going on with the truck and he feels it correctly. Kyle won't come back and ever say, I think we should do this, if he's not 100% that it's gonna benefit the truck.
Especially the first year was a tough transition, going from a family operated thing where, you know, we prepped it, we fabricated it, we loaded it on the trailer, we washed it, I mean, everything. Everything was us. And then going to Brenthel, which is a factory team in the way I look at it, where it was more of, okay, this is the truck we're gonna give you. It's competitive, go win. And I wasn't involved in much of any of the other steps. And that took a little bit of getting used to, because I wanted to be involved.
Racing and off-road, you've got to have more than just driving ability, right? We knew a lot of guys who were fast, who have come from other racing, and it's like, you know, sure, you put a lap down here and damn, you're fast. You can get around a corner, you know how to, you know, move the truck. But in off-road, when you're doing a long race that's mentally grueling, right? Like the Mint 400 or the Baja 1000, you've got to keep your head on straight. And you have to make the right decisions, right? Simple things like do you pass now, right? You might have the ability to pass. Should you pass, right? You have to make that choice, like you're gonna potentially get a flat. Is that worth it? You know, what's the risk versus reward here? I know that Kyle is very good at decision making in the heat of the moment.
Just being there, I think they respected me for, I wasn't just some guy, it's just, who's driving the truck today? Well, I don't know. You know, they knew that I was driving, and I think they put a little bit more heart into it. And I think that gave us some better results. While you're in the car, you think about what other tires other people have. You're behind Bryce, you've been behind Bryce many times, and you're going through a rock garden and go, okay, this is a good spot to be in right here. And it's been proven time and time that he's probably gonna get a flat. And we've been right a lot. But that also goes the other way. A lot of people run BFGs. So you're behind Luke or those guys that run BFG, and you're like, they got the same tires as us. They're great drivers. I don't think we can count on a flat. We need to count on something else. Either we need to push harder or possibly count on a mechanical failure.
Oh, we're done. It melted everything.
From the tire that we all loved, which was the KR2, rear dialed, the 39-inch KR2, like, this is it, this is the tire. And then they came out with the 40, narrower, a true 40, and we're like, my God, this thing's huge. It ends up being lighter than the 39, and something about that pounds per square inch that narrower tire is, the mint, for some reason, just gets sharp. And I don't know why, I'm not a geologist, but it's like hitting a curb at 100 miles an hour. The traction from one tire to the other was huge. They're thinking of it, and it worked, because I think that this tire is better than the last. Even with 30 inches of travel and 40-inch tires, they still get you. And that has always been the trouble with the Mint, in my opinion, is figuring out how on lap 3 or 4 are you gonna make it around this thing with all these 1 foot tall sharp edges. I know we're a force to be reckoned with, but anything can happen out there. We are coming back with a different truck, all-wheel drive. Being first on a road point to point has its advantages every day, but for us at the Mint, it wasn't too big of a factor. I think you get lucky sometimes. I think the daydreaming part is what keeps bringing me back to wanting that win again.